All right. Good morning, Vietnam. All right. So, this is about humanity and the celebration of humanity and how can we be better as people between each other. And today we're going to talk about cultural differences. Because I look at you a certain way. And I want you to understand me. Okay? What do you think, babe?
I think a lot of people don't understand, different cultures. So they might look at it as, someone disrespecting them versus someone not disrespecting them. We're going to also show a video that's kind of going to go into the different cultures and the communication that kind of all comes with
how to work through it.
Yes.
Okay? And understand each other. We're all human. And I think we all want to live a good life.
Some of us is human.
You know, I'm a little different. I got a little alien DNA in me. It's all right. But I love everybody, and we believe in God, and we believe that everybody wants to live a good life. So we just have to find a medium between cultures, and no matter where you're from, and stuff like that. So
I just feel like if everybody get outside of that box, that bubble that they're in, and look at everyone as human first, and not, skin or face expressions. Shoot, we can all work together and it'd be awesome. But, until that day, this is where we are.
And we know it can be tough. Like, my upbringing, my mom was raised on a closed slave plantation. So she grew up in that environment, that area of Mississippi where they were treated like slaves. It just was what it was. And that was her upbringing. So she taught me a lot about the understanding of how to get through, how to work through those differences, because some people's perspectives are what they are. And some people are going to see you for what they are, what they think you are.
Right.
So you just have to know who you are and stay firm in your beliefs and who you are. And understand that everybody's not going to see you the same. But it don't mean that everybody's racist or everybody's a bad person.
Because some people look at one incident with one race and then put that on everybody.
Labeling.
Yes. And that's not
not
right.
Good.
That's
because
not right
every human being is not the same. I've had great, white friends, great Indian friends, great Hispanic friends, Asian friends, and everybody's had different ups and downs with their culture. There's good and bad in every race. Even African American, African, Nigerian, or wherever the case is. Everybody has different ups and downs in their race. So we just have to remember that there's going to be good seeds and there's going to be bad seeds. But that don't mean the whole culture is bad. And that's what we don't want. So we're going to go into this video, and you can like, subscribe, and everything on us. And also check out this wonderful lady talking about the cultural differences and everything like that. And follow her on her channel as well. Awesome. Here we go.
No. About how two people would be communicating.
Oh, let me rewind.
The way they would be communicating would be based.
Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Started from the beginning. Smart guy. Okay.
I told him to get it together.
I did. I tried.
Cultural diversity is about how two people would be communicating, and the way they would be communicating would be based on their cultural differences. So, for instance, in some cultures, they communicate by not giving eye contact, and that's considered as a sign of respect. In other cultures, to give eye contact means you're giving attention. So it's just acknowledging that people do communicate in a different way.
I didn't know that.
It's good too. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Cultural diversity covers a number of differences. So when we're talking about differences in relation to behavior, attitude, differences in relation to values, to beliefs, gender differences, status differences. So there are a number of differences that would then come under the umbrella of cultural diversity.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
There are 4 tips that you could consider when you're interacting with somebody who is from a different cultural background to you. So the first tip I would suggest is using your observation skills. Observe how they're behaving, observe how they're interacting with you, observe their body language, and as far as possible, try and mirror and match the body language. So in some cultures, people like to sit and lean forward when they're interacting, and if you lean back, you're giving a message that you're not interested, which they would consider as an insult. So if you match how the other person is behaving, then the rapport will be building, and then you can then move on to the common areas that are there for the points of discussion. So that's tip number 1. The second tip is appreciate differences. Some cultures do behave very, very differently, which in other cultures would be considered as derogatory or insulting. So for instance, if you go to India, timekeeping is not so important there. People are fairly laid back, and they are not as bothered about timekeeping. If you go to Switzerland, as an example, if you're a minute late, it's considered as a real insult. So just be aware that there are differences in what's expected and in styles of communication. So appreciate differences. Another example I can give to you is in Northern Europe, people would communicate by giving facts. In Italy, people would communicate by sharing a lot of emotions. In Japan, people communicate by building harmony. And in India, people would communicate by asking about families. Okay, so when you're talking about differences in culture, it's about being adaptable to. So if I was interacting with somebody from Northern Europe, I would think, oh well, they're just going to ask me about facts and figures rather than asking me about personal life, and I would then adapt myself to accommodate what their needs are. The third tip, which is really important, is don't assume that because that person represents that country, that he or she is going to behave like everybody else. It's about respecting the individual concerned. So they would be behaving and interacting with you, which is about their personal values and beliefs. So it's about respecting the individual concerned. And the last tip is about patience, fundamentally. I was interacting with somebody from southern India in English, and when I said to him, "How are you?" a very simple question, in UK the response would be, "I'm fine, how are you?" Whereas in some parts of the world they'll give you 20 sentences to explain how they are, which in UK that would be covered in 2 sentences. So cultural diversity is also about being patient, that their style of communicating may take longer than what you're used to, and it's just about persevering through those patients.
It's interesting.
It is.
Yes, cultural diversity fundamentally is about acknowledging differences, and it's about respecting those differences. Their behavior, their values, their beliefs is done in a different way to you. It's not meant in a disrespectful way, it's just how different people behave in different circumstances.
All right.
4 is up.
All right. So there you have it. You know,
It's good to know.
that was
It's
a lot
really
of
good to know.
interesting information.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
sometimes you don't pay attention to those little details, and those little details can matter in building relationships, building that rapport with somebody that's from a different culture that you may work with, or you may just run into in a community, in a you know, in public. You know, and understanding each other is a big thing. Opening up your mind, your heart, your understanding, you know, to understand that everybody's not going to do what you do. Everybody's not going to respond the way you respond. So don't take it the wrong way. You have to be first humble to learn that you may not know. But if you choose not to learn and open up your heart and your mind to understand others, then don't expect a good result. And that's some of the things that we go through today. We see so many differences and so many issues, so many fights over misunderstandings. And the end result, everybody wants to live a good life, no matter where you're from. That's universal. It doesn't matter. So if you take that perspective that, okay, you know, people are going to have attitudes sometimes because everybody's going through different things.
But not only
You
that,
know?
but sometimes you may think that somebody has an attitude and they
Yeah.
don't. Kind of like what she said, like
Yeah,
when
that's
you're
true.
talking to someone and they're kind of like laid back, you might take that like they're not listening to you, or
Yeah.
they're not, you know,
Yeah.
paying you any attention, so you get mad.
Well, you're not important.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to, like she said, you have to look at that and understand the person.
Yeah.
You know, so you can't always jump to conclusions of that person and think that they're just, you know, blowing you off.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That baby's smart. All right. Okay, so that was for humanity building, you know, and the celebration of humanity. We're always trying to find different ways to bring people together because in the end of everything, I believe, like I said, everybody wants to live a good life and everybody wants a happy life. So we can do that together, no matter where you're from, where you're born, it don't matter, you know?
Right.
So on that note, this is BJ.
And Shanae.
All right. And y'all have a blessed day, okay? And we're out.